Okay, last Sunday we stop here, whereby I show you the effect of oil spill to the sea, to the beaches, and to the organisms in the sea, the fish and seafood, the effect. Okay, then you go to the second types of pollutions is ballast water. Right, first is emission and also um, oil spill. Emission is the air, oil spill is to the sea. Now is ballast water. Ballast water also to the sea. Uh, ballast water is water used to maintain the stability of the vessel, and it's primarily composed of water. Ini dah sudah kot ni. Dah sudah dah ni. Okay. Now when I recall back lah. So ballast water is the water that been kept in the ships, in the hull of the ship, for the purpose of balancing, and to make the ship more stable during traveling or moving on the sea. As you all know, sea is very uh, very instable. The sea water because of the wave. The wave will make the ship unstable. Always on the move, right? Always shaking left and right. So that is the nature of the seawater lah. Why is that happening? Because of the wave. Wave been created on the surface of the seawater because of seawater is very open wide surface, a very big open wide surface, and also is a liquid, so it's subject to wind flow. So the wind flow will lead to a small wave. It depends on the wind flow. If normal wind flow, maybe small wave. But if higher wind flow speed, bigger wave. So, but all the time there definitely is wave. Either is small or not. If small wave, the ship is always on the move, here left and right. It depends on the size of the ship also, right? But although the ship is big, but the effect of the wave is great. It make the ship move left and right. Little bit. You feel it. So with the ballast water and also with the what the design of the ships, whereby under the ship they have a bit of bow, right? A big bow. In front they call it bulbous bow that will break up the wave, and also the bow design at the bottom of the ship, the bottom of the hull, will help to stabilize the ship, so that the ship is more stable and is suitable or comfortable for people to live in the ship, to work in the ships and to live in the ship, right? But also it will much dependent on the wave. If the wave is bigger, definitely you will feel it, the left and right? Especially during a hurricane or during a heavy storm, right? Heavy rain, heavy winds, right? Right, that is the nature of the sea, and they responded to the wave from the wind, and the wave will responded to the ship. And how to stabilize the ship? They use ballast water to stabilize it, right? So this ballast water being kept in the hull of the ship, and it being kept for quite some times right? Then the problem arises because the seawater initially being kept in the hull of the sea in the tank to stabilize the ship will produce a microorganism that is indigenous, non-indigenous to the natural environment of the sea, right? So initially, the water in the ballast tank is normal, it's seawater with indigenous microorganisms there inside the ballast water, inside the tank, ballast tank. But due to being kept for some time in the ballast tank without any sunshine or any proper compound of oxygen, they develop a non-indigenous microorganism. The normal one is indigenous to the sea, but none is non-indigenous, meaning they are like aliens species of microorganism. Alien to whom? Alien to when they release the ballast water from the ballast tank to the sea. This microorganism that been stayed in the ballast tank for quite some time is alien to the natural indigenous species of the sea. And what happened is that usually the non-indigenous one, the alien one, is more dominant, stronger. They will consume and they will mutate in the water. And at the end of the day, they cover a wide spread of area that consists of non-indigenous species of microorganism. And this species, alien species, usually is dangerous to the fish and also to the seafoods around the species, the indigenous species, non-indigenous species. So then is when it's dangerous to the sea creatures, sea life, they also will be dangerous to the human, to the mankind. Why? Because we always keep on eating fish. Fish is a sort of protein and a healthy one as compared to meat. So human always looking for fish and seafood as a delicacies. So it will transfer the poison to the human, and it will, to some extent it can kill human. So that is why it's dangerous. That is why ballast water. Remember, you learn about IMO. There's even a convention on ballast water management. Ballast water management or treatment. So these are the things that other than emission and oil spill, these are the another kind of pollutions brought by the ships, the maritime transport. Ah. So maritime introduced in 2004 the International Convention for the Control and Management of Ships on Ballast Water and Sediments. So they have procedures and ways how to control and manage the ballast water of the ship and the sediments. Okay, for the convention to be enforced, 30 countries presenting 35% of the world merchant shipping tonnage need to ratify the convention. Ratify means need to agree on the convention. All right. Although it's a convention, but ratification is depend on the country members, lah, right? Okay, because maybe why some countries late to ratify, but they late to ratify doesn't mean that they don't support the convention. Maybe they must think about their local industry readiness to adopt the measurements by conventions, IMO conventions, because maybe it involves money investment. So maybe the industry, the local industries, ships doesn't is not ready yet to incur more costs on spending or on abiding to the conventions. But country agreed that this is important to be rectified, but they must think about the practicality or the readiness of their ships, the local ships. That's why some country ratify, some country not yet. They will ratify, but not yet. That's the thing in conventions, IMO conventions. Usually, new developed and rich country, they definitely ratify it immediately, right? Because they know it's important, and they are developed countries. They are usually rich countries that they can provide facilities ataupun incentive for the ship owners, ship operators in their country, ship owners and ship operators in the country to follow the conventions. So that is very important. It depends on the country itself. Usually, it will rely on the readiness of the country to accept, to adopt the convention. If they ratify, definitely they need to follow everything inside the convention. They need to follow. If don't, they need to enforce it in their own country, for their own ships, ship registered in the country, and also ship, or the owner of the ships in the country. Okay. An example of invasion of alien species introduced via ballast water is harmful algae blooms, HAB. Cases of red tides caused by HAB that leads to local fish being killed or are getting worryingly common in Malaysia, especially in the waters of Sabah. Last 2 years, I think they've been reported in the waters of near Langkawi, near Langkawi. Okay, so these red tides is moving around. Moving around, because they are the species that in the sea, they've been affected. Their mobility is being influenced by the wave, also the movement of air, wind, and also the wave. So they're moving around, right? Okay, red tide chokes the oxygen supply of marine life, destroy ecosystems, and causes poisoning to marine species and even human. So that's why I told people, when affect marine species, definitely they will affect human, because human are the main some consumers of, the main eaters of seafood, marine species, fish and all the seafood. So the other thing other than HAB, algae boom, ballast water also consists of paralytic shellfish poisoning, PSP, right? Paralytic shellfish poisoning, which is one of the 4 recognized symptoms of shellfish poisoning. Macam you makan kerang kan, makan kerang ke kepah ke, and in northern they call it, is better than kepah or oyster. It's tasteful than oyster. They call it mentarang, mentarang. Mentarang also is a seafood, shellfish, right? The shell. So when you consume shellfish, you must be very careful, because you are at risk for poisoning, right? Shellfish poisoning. That's why some people get stomach ache or get food poisoning due to after eating the shellfish, right? It depends where you get your shellfish, where you source it. If they source it from the fresh seawater that is is being controlled, being monitored, then it's fine. But it's in open seawater full of contaminations, then you are in trouble. So PSP can cause mortality among marine life, and in extreme cases among humans as well. So the mortality rates, the mortality mean that the fatalities lah. Some cases of PSP can lead to fatal cases among human, meaning that they can die eating shellfish that contain PSP, paralytic shellfish poisoning, right? So memang nice, memang orang cakap, menyelerakan, very appetizing if you look at the seafood, right? All the shellfish, it's very nice, but actually you are taking it at risk, because we never know where they get the shellfish from. Uh, if it happen to you, they cannot blame the shop owner or the provider because they don't know. They just buy in the market, right? So they just buy and get lucky. You get unlucky. The have PSP inside the shellfish, then you'll die. So these are the example of the red tides. Also the algae, right? Nampak air laut jadi merah, okay? Macam pink, nampak macam cantik tapi is all alien species, okay? Uh, Alien species are conquering the water near the beach or near the coastal. So I think we have a case in Langkawi once because at that time, if not mistaken, the fishery department or the Jabatan Laut gave warning to the consumers, to the people living near the area, don't consume the shellfish or fish at that moment because this thing they come and go, right? They come and go. They don't stay there forever. So at that moment when the red tide is there, don't use it. Don't consume any seafood. When they're gone, then you can take back the seafood and eat. Okay. That is on ballast water. Now you already know why maritime transport pollutions not only consists of the emissions, giving toxic and hazardous emissions gases emitted in the environment, in the air, but also on the oil spill. The oil spill, although oil is not so dangerous, but the impact of the crude oil, is great to the environment. And then you know about the ballast water, how ballast water affect the environment. But with the introduction of the Convention on Ballast Water Management, many countries have ratified it, and more countries is coming to ratify it. Then hopefully they will the cases of red tides or the effect of ballast water to the sea will be reduced, and the sea is a more safe haven for the microorganism and sea creatures. That you always need. We always need the supply of fish from the sea. The human always need and never stop eating fish from the sea, right? So we need to take care of the sea. Yeah? That's why IMO as based on their motto of safe and security, the ship, the people, the crew, right, the cargo, and also the environment. So this fit the purpose of IMO, that carrying of the seawater. Then the other pollution that the ships produce is uh, anti-fouling system, right? This also involving chemicals, chemical that been used to clear up the fouling of ships. Fouling, I told before, it consists of reef, the coral reef, any microorganism that stick to the body, to the hull of the ships, because the ships, as you all know, from the start of the being commissioned as a ship, they will stay in the sea for until the end of the service. Right? No such thing as they go up to the what? They come out from the sea and then they stay outside for a while. Then you come back again and see and when they need to use. No, usually cargo ships, freight ships, they will stay in the sea until their break-even point, until the operations, the revenue reach break-even point, and then they will keep on servicing, operating until they get profits. After they have achieved break-even point, then they will go for profit for a few years, for many years to come, until one day they be decommissioned and they've been sent to decompose, right? So these are the things, the life cycle of a ship. So they keep on staying in the seawater. The effect is that they have many polling microorganisms that will stuck ataupun stick to the body of the ships. And usually it's reef, coral reef, batu karang ke ataupun teritik ke semua kan. And these things happen, this thing if you allow, then you allow and you don't clean it, it will affect the operations of the ships, the effective efficiency of the ship operations, because they will delay, they will sort of resistance to the ship mobility. When it's resistant, definitely the ship will consume more energy, right, to overcome this, right, because they need more energy to get higher speed moving the ships, right. Let's say, for example, they usually travel 10 knots, but with the 10 knots, with normal power of 10 knots, they don't produce 10 knots. They produce 8 knots because the 2 knots is resistance due to this pulling, right? So that's why they will send to the port. They provide the services for anti-pulling, and the port there will spray all chemical agent, a chemical or agent that will clear all the fouling, right? That's what they call anti-fouling system, right? And this agent ataupun this chemical will go back to the sea, will polluted the sea. You're not talking one ship, you're talking about maybe every year thousands of ships being services for this kind of service, right? So you can just imagine the amount of chemical going out. That's why they need to have a system to control it, right? Right, the hull of the ship need to be kept smooth for marine growth to ensure marine growth, like coral reef that been stuck at the body of the ship's marine growth, to ensure maximum performance and efficiency. With that kind of growth that stuck to the body or hull of the ship, they will affect the performance of the ship, like I told just now. They use more energy to move the ships to maintain the speed, and also it's not less efficient for the ship. When more energy is less efficient. Why? Because it incur more cost, right? So that's why you seldom look at big ships. Big cargo ship has many what marine growth at the hull, because they keep on always clearing the growth. Now there's many technologies, there are many chemicals, safe chemicals that been used to clear up the fouling. One of the chemical they use is TBT. TBT is popular because it's inexpensive and effective protection against the growth of marine fouling on the underwater hulls or vessel, but is harmful to the range of marine organisms. TBT is good, expensive, and effective in clearing the fouling, the marine growth, but they are very harmful to the microorganisms, right? Just imagine such a big organization uh, keep on thinking about saving the microorganism, the marine microorganism. And marine microorganism ni sometimes you cannot see from your bare eyes, with your bare eyes. You need to go under more microscope to see the microorganism. Some of it lah. But why IMO is so serious about it? Uh, because they are a part of the ecosystem of the whole marine ecosystem. All the fishes, all the creatures in the sea are consuming this microorganism, right? And the fish, either small or big, even by swallowing the seawater, they actually swallow food. Because in the seawater, there's many microorganisms that you can see from your eyes, with your eyes. That's why it's important to protect and preserve the marine ecosystem. If you jam the ecosystem is being disrupted or polluted, one part of it, the whole system is affected. That's why we call it ecosystem, a system. When is it a system? A, one part of system affected, the whole system affected. That is a system. So the ecosystem, one part of eco process, ecological process of the marine affected, the whole ecosystem of marine will be affected. For example, like the microorganism is a small thing, very small, minute thing that you cannot see from through your eyes. But it's very important for the ecosystem of the marine. But if that one been polluted or poisoned or polluted or damaged, the whole ecosystem will be damaged. You will get fish that is not healthy for eating by human. Kan? So you will get apa nama ni species of creatures that will create another that will meet that can be a host for other microorganism mutations. So there's many reasons why we need to preserve the natural ecosystem of the marine. Not only the marine, but also the environment, the ecosystem of the jungle, tropical forest, tropical jungle, the ecosystem you must protect. Once one of part of it is being destroyed, the whole ecosystem is damaged. Example, through destroyed through what? Through apa? Through what? Opening new lands, cutting trees, pembalakan, right? Mining, through mining process to gain minerals. They should be not to say that you cannot get from you cannot do the mining, you cannot do the apa pembalakan, get the timbers from the jungle, but they need to have to be done properly so that the ecosystem will prevail and prolong. Right, they will be sustainable for future generations to appreciate it, not to destroy it, not to destroy it in a way that there's no sustainable, there's no sustain for the future generations. So what happened now is most of the mining process is not sustainable. They just think about the mining and the minerals they get from mining, from the timbering, but they don't care what happened to the jungle, to the ecosystem. That one is bad. They're looking for money, and because if you need to be sustainable mining, maintain sustainable mining, sustainable timbering, maybe to them is extra cost. So they don't want the extra cost. They want the clear cut of profit. That one is what is terrible, what action done by the human. So that's why like, IMO control on the marine. But on land, who control? IMO is powerful. Why? It's international. It's under United Nations. You just imagine there's no IMO. What happened to the world of marine world? Every countries just do their part, but not all countries agree. Right? So it's difficult. Like what happened to the timbering and mining process in the world, because they belong to the country, right? So some country are very focused on sustainable. Then the timbering process ataupun the mining process is good according to the process of sustainability. But some countries they don't bother about that. For example, like our country, timbering, just clear the land with all the timbers, you get all the profit, and you left all the jungle being timbered empty, vacant, right? So what happened with rain falling to high. I mean the rainfall is hard and high volume, then it will affect to the people that staying below of the hills, below the hills. Usually, the people that live what do you call it the low area, so they were affected by the water that coming from the hills, and then the hills water coming down to the rivers, and the rivers water going up. The tide is up and it's getting higher. And now you can see the flooding effect has never been before experienced by them. The flood water going up to the roof, right? And going down with the rivers is all the timbers. all the woods, all the timbers going down, right? So these are the things that make the ecosystem wrong. So you need to maintain the right ecosystem for the jungle, for the forest, right? So that's why a marine ecosystem is important to be protected, to be preserved, because it will affect human life, right? So for that purpose, IMO also have a convention. Due to the seriousness of the effect, and due to the experience that they gone through, they have introduced the International Convention on the Control of Harmful Anti-Fouling System (AFS) anti-fouling system on ships in October 2021. 2001, right? And came in force in 2008, right? Mm. So you just imagine they introduced this special convention on EFS, anti-fouling system. In this convention, they will there's rules and procedures, the sort of chemical being used, and the process of when the process that you need to deal with the residual of the process of anti-fouling. Those days, this anti-fouling when you use, they release the residual of AFS to the sea, but now you need to manage it so that whatever been released to the sea is clean and safe to the microorganism. So in the convention is detailed about it, right? So how serious is IMO on preserving the environment is not undeniable, right? Undeniable. It's lucky that we have IMO because to preserve our marine, the most precious thing that we should preserve well, the marine, right? Why? Because 70% of the world consists of seawater. If the seawater is not good or is polluted or damaged or what been polluted with chemicals whatsoever, you just imagine the impact to the environment to the world. Okay. These are the example of fouling. Now see at the hull of the ships, you can see there's many marine growth. They call it like reef, coral reef. They're stuck to the body of the ships because this part of the ship is always staying underneath of the surface of the seawater, right? So definitely there will be some marine growth stuck to them. This one you need to be cleared occasionally. Maybe 6 months or once a year you need to clear it. As compared to the left picture, you see all cleared, very clean. No such fouling stick because they have cleared it with the anti-fouling system, right? So the ship will be operated at high efficiency, no resistance at all. The right one, the picture on the right, definitely when the ship move, will be affected by the marine growth, the efficiency. So they use more energy, right? Any questions on the marine pollution? Other than marine pollution, other than this is waste management, this waste disposal from the ships. So waste disposal from the ship, I think I did mention in the slide, is about the waste that other than the oil spill, right? Yeah, ada tak saya cakap ni? Ni chemical pollutions, discharging dirty oil, right? These are the waste. Other than liquid waste ni doesn't mean oil spill. Liquid waste ni macam engine oil atau other oil that related to the ships operations. Other than the oil spill, other than the bunker spill. Bunkers oil spill usually is accidents. This one is purposely thrown. That's what they call it. Uh, they call it discharge, illegal discharges. And other than that, there's other than liquid discharges, uh, other than illegal liquid discharges, like engine oil, like other oils, other than the what the bunker, this is purposely done. There's consists of solid waste, solid waste. Solid waste ni macam waste yang berkenaan dengan penggunaan barang makanan lah kan, you masak apa semua tu, ataupun dia punya food, waste food yang not finished, you have surplus of waste food, right? uh, Actually they need to process it, to process it, but you must remember the processing of the waste disposal ni, it's either solid or either solid or liquid. Why on earth that the ship crew need to throw it away? By right, they have a process of processing the waste so that is readily to be released to the sea, right? Right, safe to the sea, microorganism, everything. But why indeed they still throw away the illegal discharges? Right? Why they don't go into the process, and after they clear the process, they filter everything and then they release it to the sea? Why? Because as you all know, when you talk about processing, is a machinery, is a mechanism. They need to use mechanism or machinery to process it. What happens is that this machinery, these machines, the process, the disposal of waste, need to be maintained, right? Well, need to be maintained well, but sometimes they cannot afford to maintain the machine as required by the convention, because of cost factor lah, to save cost, right? Or any other factors, maybe they're not allowed, they cannot maintain the machine, and if they not maintain the machine work faulty, the machine in the stage of faulty, then cannot process well. So what happened? They need to throw away the discharges, the waste, to dispose it away. So the machine cannot work. Then what they do? They just dispose all the things in the sea, right? And when they do it, when they're in the middle of the sea, that nobody did see it, right? The sea is very big and open and wide. When you stay at the middle of Indian Oceans with no ship around you, you can do anything. Nobody knows. Provided when the crew, some of the crew observe it, and based on their report, then only IMO can know. The authorities can know. If not, they never know. Right. So that's why they keep doing this illegal disposal, this illegal dispose of waste, because of they have every ship should have a machine for processing or filtering the wastage. But sometimes, most of the time, it's hard to maintain, and they are not performing well. They are at fault, faulty performance of the machine. So what happened? They need to process it, but they can't do that. You can't do that. They need to process it before releasing to the sea, but they can't do that. They cannot do that. What happened is the amount of disposal wastage is keep on increasing. So they throw away, right? Some of them throw in the Strait of Malacca. The Strait of Malacca is not big, right? So they had to throw away before they entering any port, right? So they throw in the Strait of Malacca and being caught by the authorities, because Strait of Malacca is very small, right? Not so big like the ocean. So maybe be monitored through GPS or through satellite monitoring, right? So uh, they been caught. Some car being caught and then and suffer a high penalty fine, comes to millions. So these are the thing that the reason why still exist illegal discharges to the sea. All right. So any questions? Any question? Po Kwan. Ciao Po Kwan. Any question?
So far, okay, doctor.
You understand?
Yes.
Fajri Abentoro.
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes.
Good. Fatin Farhana. Fatin Farhana ada? Tanvir Tommy, okay, you understand. Fatin Farhana ada?
Ada ke? Ada.
Tak ada, ingat tak ada. Yeah, remember I show you a picture of when the class finish, there's still few student doesn't exit. That is the indicator that the student maybe, I don't know lah, maybe maybe they on the webback and then they go somewhere else and they forget to exit when the times come. So don't do that. If possible, you can stay in the class until the class finish. All right. Muhammad Arif, are you there?
Ya, ada tu.
Faham
Ya. Apa okey tu?
Good. Hyuki. Low Hyuki.
Yes, sir.
You understand? Any question?
Understand.
Danusha. Where is Danusha? Danusha? Danusha ada ke Danusha? Danusha don't come today. Shuyin.
Yes, sir.
Understand?
Yes, understand.
Yashini,
Yes, sir.
any question?
So far good, I think.
Okay, Tiny? Tengku Tihani? Ada Tiny? Tengku Tihani ada? Mana pergi Tengku Tihani ni? Okay, now you understand the contribution, the sort of pollutions the maritime not offering, the pollution that maritime give when affecting maritime, the sort of pollution affecting maritime transportation that will affect or give impact to the environment, other than emission, the oil spill, illegal discharges, ballast water, anti-fouling agent. Remember I said to you in the WhatsApp group about cases of claustrophobia? You know what is claustrophobia or not? What is claustrophobia? Jenny. Tia Jenny. Where is Tia Jenny?
Yes, doctor.
What is claustrophobia? Have you read the WhatsApp I given to you about incident or cases of claustrophobia in ships? Pamela Lana, Pamela. Pamela, around not?
Yes, sir.
Do you read or not? Well, I will send it through WhatsApp. Not read. How come you not read? It's information on maritime. Ini Tengku Tihani still not in the room. Ni gimana ni Tihani ni Dia makan lunch ke? Zaim? Mana Zaim? Ada Zaim? Sama juga tak ada. Tak dengar. Awak tak buka mic ke? Awak tak buka mic, Nengkok mic tutup. Tak tahu lah mungkin ada masalah kot. Zaim? Zaim tak ada. Roy, you want Roy?
Yes, sir.
What is claustrophobia?
A kind of fear in a enclosed space.
Afraid of due to a very tight space. You must remember when you in the ship. The ship is not an open space. The ship's structure is very. You want to fully utilize the space given. So some of the room are very tight, very small space. The toilet is very small space. If you are claustrophobia, it's not for you, right? And there are many cases based on the reading that the WhatsApp I sent to you, causes fatalities because of inappropriate of access of the small places in the ships atau apa nama ni tight places. You must remember in the ship there's many kind of room. Some of room are very tight. So when going to tight spaces, there are many procedures you need to follow. Don't simply like you want to venture in, you want to explore, you go in, but at the end of the day, it's a problem for you to come out. Then you'll die inside, right? So there's many room or whatever, small places or tight spaces or places in the ship that you need to be careful. There's many cases fatalities happen in the ship due to wrongly not following the procedures of going to small spaces, right? So be careful. And this thing never been taught before. Maybe you never think about this, right? It's happened, but it happened. It happens. Some can cause fatalities, death. So if you are claustrophobia person, working in ships are not for you lah, right? Sometimes you just imagine dia punya bilik tidur for crew lah, for captain and officer bilik besar lah kan. For crew ni bilik kecil, small room you share with 3 to 4, 2 to 4 persons per room. And then the bathroom also small. So especially when you talk about navy lah, navy battleship lagi kecil kan. Nama ship untuk perang kan, bukan untuk leisure, right? Or freight ships, freight also same thing. Sometimes freight ships, cargo ship are small. Dia punya apa nama ni spaces for crew. That's why there are standards. Why I would take care of the standards, space for crew, right? If not, the owner of the ship will utilize fully for cargo. Crew only they could take a small amount of space because to fully utilize for cargo. For cargo brings money. Crew income money. Crew income money, but cargo give money to them. Understand? To avoid that, IMO have a special design to follow a special convention on ship design and design architect, ship architect design. So kena ikut lah. Kalau leisure, yes, maybe that one is more spacious as compared to cargo and also a battleship, right? Battleship is worse lah. It's worse. Kalau you takut dengan tempat kecil, memang jangan jadi Navy lah. Right? Navy ni tempat dia kecil. Kan? Itu belum masuk dalam kapal selam lagi kecil kan. Kalau takut, yes. Kalau takut tempat kecil, don't be a crew or sailor or a washerman because it's not for you lah. You all pernah cuba masuk MRI tak? You tahu apa MRI? You know what is MRI? Huh? Who knows MRI? Siapa tahu MRI ada? Ada siapa tahu MRI? Ada yang tahu? Ni. Ini benang MRI ni kalau you ada sakit, nak tahu apa punca sakit yang sebenar kan, urat-urat mana ke, ataupun sebab apa punca tu, they do MRI, right? So usually when you use MRI, you need to go through a silo, right? This silo look big, but when you go inside, you lie down on the platform. They will raise the platform higher, so that your face with the ceiling of the silo is only one inch ke one berapa ni cm kan, dekat dengan your surface, and then the whole silo is the lighting is very dim and gelap sikit lah kan. Kalau you tak pergi claustrophobia memang you jerit lah. Faham tak? Memang you jerit, takut macam masuk kubur tau. Macam masuk kubur kan, takut kalau ada claustrophobia lah, tak boleh masuk je. Macam masuk dia mesin dia bergerak je, bawa badannya masuk dalam, you akan berjerit je, stop. Tak boleh lebih kan. You kena pensan dulu, atau you kena tidur dulu, atau you kena kejam mata, baru boleh masuk. Itu pun kalau you kejam pun you berani kan, because very close so memang takut lah kan, kalau orang tak biasa tu takut lah. Orang ada claustrophobia lagi lah kan. Tapi nowadays they have a bigger machine lah but not all hospitals have a bigger machine. Some hospitals have a all version. They are very tight. So that is MRI. That is how claustrophobia felt. Kalau you rasa takut nak masuk, memang you claustrophobia. That's how you want to know your claustrophobia or not. Kadang-kadang claustrophobia ni dangerous. Why? Because you dalam claustrophobia, you panic. You can panic attack because of the places surrounding you is so small, sempit sangat, sampai you create yourself panic. Panic tu yang buat you mati ni, faham tak? Itu yang bahaya. Jangan main panic attack ni dangerous. Kadang you cannot control yourself because of panic attack. You can be another person because of panic attack. So what is the trigger of panic attack? Contohnya claustrophobia. Okay, claustrophobia ataupun stress, overthinking. Overthinking also part of claustrophobia, right? Okay, if no question, we proceed to another one. On the slide. Bill of lading. Okay. Bill of lading. What is bill of lading? Right. Bill of lading is the document. Is a very important document for import and export. Right. Bill of lading. For maritime, they use bill of lading. For other modes, maybe they use different terms. Some of the terms are manifest. Manifest document also being called by airlines. Usually, the airline use manifest. Waybill usually by road transport freight. Waybill ataupun by rail. So sometimes different mode, different terms, but they all are the same, meaning that they consist of information that required that need to be put in the document for import and export, for cargo mobility and transferring of title, right? And this in bill of lading, they consist of You have heard of this term, the Incoterms. Incoterms. You know what is Incoterms? Anybody know what's Incoterms? Incoterm. Have you come across? Abid, you know what's Incoterms?
Yes, doctor.
You know what's Incoterms?
Yes, doctor.
What is it?
The term which used for business, there are like 7 terms.
Come again?
The ENCO term, right, doctor?
Yeah.
Rules and guidelines, sir.
Yeah, Abid. Abid Nain. Abid, what is it?
Yes, doctor. Hello?
International?
And the term which used for international business, doctor. It's a
What is
commercial terms. A series of defined commercial terms.
international commercial terms? Incoterms.
Yes, doctor.
So what is all about?
It's all about business, like there are like terms like
Uh, Tadi is not international Board of commerce. International commercial term. Incoterm. Right? They are the abbreviation. Abbreviation. No abbreviation? Ain tahu apa Incoterms? Where's Ain?
Yes, sir.
Tadi cakap apa tadi Incoterms?
Oh, sets of guideline. So, shape.
Dia guideline lah, tapi the term, the Incoterm meaning international commercial terms. These are the abbreviations for being used in the BOD to justify many things. One of it is a title, ownership title. The other one is insurance coverage. So there's many things. There's I think around 20 Incoterms, and these Incoterms is add up now and then. For the purpose of uh, import and export activities, mobilization of cargo lah, either import or export. Right? I think Incoterms you have already learned in theory and practice. I don't know how much did you learn, but it's actually it's about that. The specific abbreviation terms that when they put inside there, you understand the situations of the cargo in terms of transferring of title, transferring of ownership, titling ownership, right? And also coverage of insurance. Who pay the insurance? Who pay the cost who pay the cost of mobilization of the cargo? Either importer or exporter. And if yes, which part? Until which part? Until which process that buyer need to cover or seller need to cover. That they use specified abbreviations and they call it Incoterms. Okay. So Incoterm also been included in the BOD, but the main important information of the BOD is all about the ownerships of the cargo, right? Destination of the cargo itself, the features and the amount, right? The ships, right? So these are the things that most important and relevant to be documented when you making import and export transaction. Okay, it's known as transport document, serve as the receipt for goods and evidence of the contract of carriage, not contract of no carriage. A document titled to the goods. Kan saya cakap tadi kan, mostly these are the contents of BOD, bill of lading. Nowadays they use BOD, electronic bill of lading. It's important. Do you learn law of carriage? You learn, right? Law of carriage. Ada ambil tak ni Ain? Ain?
Huh?
Ada ambil the law of carriage.
Ambil?
Law of contract?
Law contract tak ada.
Okay. During my studies on transportation, law of contract you need to take also, because everything involving contract, involving contract. So you need to know what is the content of law of contract. Although law of carriage affecting law of contract, but when you did your law of contract, you know what it's all about. It's more detailed. It's more detailed because when you do your business, any transaction that involving other parties, you need to have contract, right? Because you must remember, the thing that you're moving around, you mobilize is not a small amount of value, right? It's covered. Sometimes it's millions of value. So no, with no contract, you are jeopardizing yourself. Jeopardizing yourself, maksudnya awak membahayakan diri awak kepada menanggung kerugian berjuta-juta. Lepas tu law of contract tu penting, right? And also in terms of risk management, in terms of insurance, you need to know also insurance. That's why when I study my transportation before, there's many subjects more relevant to the freight, but it's not in your syllabus. So that's why I wonder, macam transport economics, transport financing, transport law, the law of contract, right? Transport insurance. These are the things that is very important to the mobilization of cargo, right? But the syllabus is not covering that. That made me want. Tapi come with the syllabus is already there, so I can't do much to change the syllabus, right? So never mind. So actually, many things you need to know related to transportation, especially on mobility of cargoes. As you all know, the cargoes that you'll be dealing maybe not a small amount in the value. It may be 1,000, 100,000 or millions later on. So you need to be careful on the risks involved, right? That's why you need to be clear on the contracts and also on the risk management. Okay. So to achieve that, you need to have a well-documented documents to provide you with all the informations. Right. So in the documents like BOL, sort of document that is very important for the exporter and importer and also the stakeholders to know about the cargo that you're carrying and the owner and all the incoterms involved. The bill of lading is not only for exporter, importer, and the carrier, it also involves the banks. You must remember, no transaction will exist without the flow of money, right? All the mobilization of cargo affected in the world must deal with funds first. Well, deals with money first, transferring of money. And to do that, you need banks, right? And banks, to do that, you need BOL, genuine BOL. There's many fraud happening because of the fraud the BOL. They make a bogus BOL, no bogus, yang palsu punya. There's many banks suffer loss, and also many companies suffer losses because of bogus BOL. That's why they use e-BOL. That's why the one they want to introduce blockchain BOL, right? To overcome these fraudulent cases. But you must know that fraudulent cases happen not due to the system, but due to the operator of the system, right? If the operator is not ethical, whatever the system is, they will try to fraud it. They will try to bogus it. Why? Because only them can know. Only them can do it, right? Outsiders cannot do it. Outsiders don't understand. Yeah, understand the whole system and operate the whole system is the person in charge. Only with them that the things can be fraudulent. the thing can be bogus, right? Without their help atau without their assistance, without they initiate it, no such thing as fraudulent, because outsiders never doesn't know about it. Right? That's why they want to introduce blockchain, BOL. Blockchain, the security level is higher, right? That's why it's critical to justify the BOL, because many cases happen that bank have endorsed a bogus BOL and released money to the other parts. And you must remember that I told just now, the amount of money involved in mobilization of cargo is not it's not it's not small amount. It's big amount. You see, so be careful about this. The one document that people want to fraud the most is BOL, because these are the document that been counted for payment, right? For banking transaction, right? So that's why it's important to have it more high security document and the process. Okay, who issue BOL or BL? The ocean carrier issue BL according to information in a doc receipt, right? That's why the Incoterms come in. When does the title ownership transfer to the buyer from the seller? Is it on the ship? Is it at the port? And which port? Is it at the buyer port or is it at the exporter port? Banyak category. There's many categories of Incoterms. Same also for the insurance. Until from manufacturer to the port, who bear the insurance? It can be from manufacturer to the port. It can be from manufacturer port to apa nama ni, to the buyer port. It can be from ship to the buyer port atau buyer destinations. So these are the things that you need to be verified by the Incoterms. Because Incoterm is the short form, right? So you just put that one, you understand, or the situation is like that, right? Based on the abbreviation definition. Okay, that's why for Incoterms you need to memorize. No such thing as understand. Need to memorize because it involves abbreviations, like TNC, BCL, right? So you need to memorize. BCL stands for what, right? So that's why in order to you to understand ataupun to know Incoterms, you need to memorize it. No other ways. So that when you look at the document, you know, oh, this is transfer where, the title sheet is where, right? Okay. BL involve any issue by the carrier. In some cases, according to completed working copy of BL supplied by the customer broker. Usually, for mobilizations of cargo from exporter to importer ataupun importer from apa ni, importer from exporter to importer, importer exporter, ni jarang berlaku lah kan, selalunya exporter yang ni export to the importer, right? So the process, the transaction not only governed by you all, the owner itself, but the English broker, right? The English broker. So broker deal with the carrier. Even carrier also some most of them the English broker also to deal with this kind of cargo, right? You remember, like I've told you, for tram operations, right? Carrier engage broker to find market for them, right? To find cargo for them. So broker play a role in this case. But we must remember, broker is just to link between the carrier and the owner of the cargo. They look for them and they link them. After the link is established, they are no more. Right? That is broker. They don't own the product atau the cargo. They don't own the company or the ships. Right? They don't own the company. They are the broker. What they do is they link between the carrier and the company and the cargo owner. Right? So once established, they got the commission and bye-bye. And that is your lah to deal with, right? But sometimes to the extent they also can produce BOL because, for example, like third-party logistics, right? Third-party logistics, if you engage with third-party logistics, what you want to know is your cargo arrive to the destination safely, timely, and in the right condition, good condition. That's all I want you to know. So you pay them. So they will act on behalf of you. Understand? So you pay them, they will provide all the services for you until your cargo reach your destinations. Then they engage with the carrier, not you. That's why in shipping, in international shipping or transaction, is very complex. That's why most company nowadays they don't do their own. It's headache, right? So they engage third-party logistic. They engage forwarding agent or brokers, right? They engage senang. You bayar je. What you want to know is your cargo reach destination, the right timing, right conditions, right? Understand? That's the way. That's why bill of lading also not only the carrier produce, but not necessarily must be produced by the owner, but sometimes the broker itself react on behalf of the owner, right, until the cargo reach the destination. So basic things in BL is it must indicate that the goods have been loaded on board or ships on the named vessel. The name of the vessel must be clear. Name of the vessel, the IMO numbers, and the flag of convenience. Right? Where is the ship registered? And it must be signed or authenticated by the carrier or the master, the captain, or the agent on behalf of the carrier or the master. Broker also can, right? That acting on behalf. Many carrier they engage broker to deal with it. Okay, I think dah pukul 4 dah. Selalunya Danusia yang tegur kan. Sekarang ni senyap, tak ada orang tegur. Okay, so I think we had to stop the class. Maybe you have no class today, that's why you keep silent, right? Right, so Danusia usually have classes after this. So they always, she always reminded me on the timing. So never mind, it's already 4 o'clock. So I hope you understand on the pollution you finish already, and then a part of BOL. So any question you want to ask? No question.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Semua understand?
Sir,
Yeah.
I want to ask is that every quiz also contain 40 to 50 questions like that?
Come again?
Is that every quiz?
Kim Yang.
Is that every quiz? Yes, sir. Is that every quiz 1 until quiz 4, right? Also contain 40 to 50 questions like that?
All are the same.
All the same.
All are 50 question. All are 50 question. I think only one yang less. Itu pun less pun tak banyak lah. Dalam 40 plus lah kan. 40. Tapi I think all 50 lah. Kan? All 50 I think. Okay. Cuma ada question yang objektif Ada yang objektif. Maksudnya banyak pilihan lah. Multiple choice. Some lah, not many lah.
So the duration for one quiz is 15 minutes or 10 minutes?
It depends on the level. But the first one, I think 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Because considering the time you read and answer around a few seconds, right? around 10 seconds to 15 seconds per question, and then you answer. And then around 10 minutes or around that. Okay. I cannot give you long time because of because it is online quiz, right? Maybe you can open the slide and you have time to check the questions, right? That's why the time is limited. It's restricted to only ngam for you to answer the 50 question, right? Understand? Yung Kwan, Kim Yong.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
I cannot give you a lot of time because you give you ample time to look at the slide because the question is all from the slide, right? Although maybe my elaborations of things are quite long, but the questions stick to the slide, to be fair to you lah. Okay. Any more question, Kim Young?
Final question already. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Aku balik kibas.
Okay.